Welcome back to Bayona's RC World, and in today's video we start on part 2 of the top flight P-40E Warhawk build series. Today we start on the wing. How far we get into the wing, it's all going to depend on a lot of different factors throughout the build. So sit back, relax, enjoy the video, and at the end, if you like what you saw, hey, don't forget to click that like, subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed, share the videos, and if you are a subscriber, I really appreciate you. Alright, so sit back, relax, and let's get on with the build. Alright guys, so we're going to start on the wing build of the P-40E Warhawk. Alright, so we got the plans all cut out. Unfortunately, I didn't want to cut the plans, but I wanted to do both wing panels at the same time. That way it speeds up the process. And my board build is only 36-inch wide. I need 40, at least 45 inches, 42, somewhere around there as far as the width of the board is concerned. And yeah, and then for one, the wing was actually on that side, so I couldn't really reach, especially the way I got this set up. I can't walk around, so I had no choice but to cut the plans. But we got covered with wax paper, not wax paper, but cling wrap to protect the plans. Went ahead and separated the 4 spars and spar doubler. Alright, so we got that right there. And it's not glued in yet, it's not beveled yet. I just separating them and kind of going through the stock. Alright, now you're gonna look at some of these spars and they're kind of bold. Alright, so I always tend to put my bow, if it's bowing like a U, I always keep it one facing up, the other bow facing down. That way when you sandwich it in between the ribs, it kind of cancels out each other, right? So you don't develop a warped wing. So yeah, other than that, I'm gonna go ahead and start. All right. Alright guys, so we got all the wood, all the spars, all the ribs, pretty much all the wood for the main construction of the wing. So as you can see, I got all the ribs on there. The reason why there's 2 is because one is for the left side of the wing. Alright, so I just put them all together so that way I can ensure everything is there and also numbered. That way one is for the left and one's for the right. Let me go ahead and start separating all this and situating all the wood for the left side wing panel. And for those of you, just as a reminder that when you're looking at the plans, you're technically looking at the bottom. This is the bottom of the wing. So when you're building it, this says left wing panel, but technically it is considered the right. And the right will be considered the left, because when you flip it back over right side up, yeah, if you see what I mean. Alright. So, yep, so we're looking at the bottom view of the wing. When we're assembling it on here, just like so, the ones where the tabs are at, that is the top side of the wing. All this is the bottom. Just to give you guys a visual reference. Alright, cool. Let's get started. here is with every kit, you normally go through all your wood, make sure that they're serviceable, especially if it's a kit, depending on how bad your stock is, if it's not straight and all other stuff, right? Now, there's always going to be a little deviation in your stock. Sometimes it's not going to be all straight or perfect. That's just from, the temperatures and all the other stuff, right? Now, it's not going to be where it's unserviceable, where you can't use it. It still can be used, all right? There's just different ways you have to go about it, all right? So, case in point, for example, this main spar is not that bad, okay? But if you really look down on it, the lengthwise, you see there's a little bow, right, going that way. So, with the years of doing this, you want to ensure that your bows are kind of like top and bottom, because you got a top and bottom spar, right? So without dragging this on, really quick, look down your stock. Now this one is curving to the left, so either or, I would place one spar on the build table with the bow going upwards. The top spar, I will face it where the bow is going downwards. So the bows are kind of like that. And then when you sink it down into the ribs and everything, they basically straighten out, cancel out each other type deal, right? One thing you don't want to do is put both lengths or both of the bows facing the same direction. So if it's bowing like that, you don't want to put it both top and bottom like that. All right, always do it opposite of each other so it can cancel out. All right, so that's just, tip. Is it very, very crucial? Nah, I'm not too sure, to be honest, because I just never done it where you got both bows facing the same direction. The thing is, the chances of it causing a warped wing and all that stuff is, I don't know if it's really gonna be true, because either which way you look at it, you're going to be pushing it and gluing it down onto the ribs. All right, so I don't know if anybody out there. I've been doing this for 40 years, but like I said, I just been doing it the way I do it, and this is not, I didn't make that up. This is in all your 1980s, 1970s kits. They show it in the instructions, especially like Great Plains, their manuals. They'll show it on how to properly put your stock for your spars and all that stuff. All right, so all these tips, most of them are from the old school instruction manuals and all that stuff, and also from old books, and just from years and years of doing this. All right, so just wanted to kind of point that out there. You take it how you want, and you build how you build. All right, guys, so we're gonna go ahead and start gluing this doubler on W3 and W4 rib. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and start off with this side here. Double checking everything, because once you apply glue, there ain't no turning back after it's stuck on there. You're gonna end up having to go get more material and try to duplicate these pieces. Gotta love these binder clips. Just wish I had some longer ones. Well, I do got these. Oops. That works. Yeah. Alright. Moving on to this one now. Just double checking everything again. Just like I said, once you glue things down, you're pretty much done. Okay. So that goes on there like that. Doubler for the P3. So it's gonna go just like that. Oops. Alright. So as you can see, I got the ribs W3 and W4 and all the doublers all attached to that. Alright, so gotta finish it up for the other side, the other wing. Alright, as you can see what I got here on the table, I got my straight edge ruler just clamped on here on the edge of the table, and that is so I can go ahead and place my bottom spar or the main spar just butt up against there with the T-pins kind of just holding it in place like so. That way if there's any slight bowing or anything lengthwise, widthwise, however you want to call it, we can go ahead and eliminate that when we're gluing the top spar doubler on. Right, so that way at least from here to here we know it's going to be straight. Also, because the top spar doubler could also be kind of bowed this way as well, this ensures that I'm also just gluing everything on nice and straight, and also manipulating the top doubler to follow the straight path of the bottom spar. So we got that. I just need to cut this end here. As you can see, I got the mark. That's where I'm going to be cutting the spar for the left side of the wing. Alright, so we got, as you can see here, we got the spars done up for the left side of the wing. I also got the spar done up for the right side of the wing. And like I mentioned earlier about the bow end and stuff, you gotta remember that the doubler faces inwards, or it should be going down like that. Alright, so yep, I already got one main spar done for the right side of the wing. Alright, and then this one will basically cap that once you get all the your ribs on. Alright, so we got that done. We got the ribs all punched out and everything, and all separated for each wing panel, just like so. And we also got the trailing edge here for the aileron. We got these, we got these two pieces here, right? And these are laser cut pieces. Awesome stuff, because I know like Frank's own kit that he's building, they weren't laser cut. They're just basically raw, you know, wood with harsh edges and all that stuff. So this is nice that this kit is laser cut, so a little better fit, a little more precision, less sanding. But yeah, so you also got to remember the this wingtip or the trailing edge here. Be mindful on the placement of your trailing edge stock here. All right, you will notice that there's more of a slight bevel here than the other side. All right, there's a specific way this thing is going to go onto the wing, and it'll tell you basically right there. All right. All right. So just be mindful when you're putting that together, and make sure that you do a left and a right. All right. Otherwise, if you glue them all both at the same, left and right the same way, you're gonna have one wing tip going that way and the other one going reverse. Just mocking it up really by the moment, just making sure nothing is pressed in, nothing is really, like the top spar is not pressed into the wing ribs yet, and yeah, nothing glued, just putting things together. Alright, left and right wing panel, ribs, spar, and about to snap on the leading edges on both wing. Everything's all glued here, everything's all glued here. The only difference between the two right now is the aileron servo bay on this side. I still need to modify this, cut out the slots for the rail, because I am not using the belt crank version. I'm putting individual aileron servos in each wing. So we got flap bay, aileron bay. Alright, so this is for the flap right here, the hatch, and then you got some blocks, and then the servo will get screwed onto that, and then this will get screwed down in there. Same thing I'm going to do with the aileron. It's going to be hardwood blocks, servo screwed into that, and then screwed down into there just like so. And then, since this is pushed over to the right, I'm going to compare it to the belt crank connection. The belt crank goes directly right there to there. So since the servo is going to be further out here, I am going to make another hatch out of ply, make the opening somewhere around here. The rod's going to come over here. I'm going to relocate the control horn block over here to this side. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and glue the front leading edge to the front of the ribs. Alright, now to make this task easier, Alright, ensure that you made center mark lines on the front of your ribs prior to actually doing all this. Alright, and also finding center on your leading edge stock. Alright, it just makes life that much easier. Now if you did not do that, and you need to, because you need to center the leading edge on the front face of them ribs, all right, so that you have equal amount of material, top and bottom of the rib, to accept your top and bottom sheeting. All right, so when you come over to the diagram on the plans, this is what you're striving to get. All right, so to ensure that you have enough material, top and bottom, for your sheeting later on, this is where finding center of your ribs, as you see I have little tick marks there, all right, and then your center line on your leading edge. So you're gonna have to measure it and try to dissect it right in the middle as much as you can, as close as you can, because you got to also remember that the stock is not all straight, right? So put a sanding, for this one I wouldn't put a sanding block on there and try to sand your leading edge and all that stuff, because I did that in the past and I think I sanded it too much, and then I didn't have enough meat for top and bottom of the sheeting, so the sheeting ended up was higher than the leading edge. And then when you sand the leading edge into the rib to blend everything in, that front portion of the sheeting became too thin. Then when that happens, any little pressure with your finger, you will punch a hole right through your sheeting. All right, and I know we all been there. We all have been there. All right, you didn't do good work on your sheeting butt joints. You had one higher than the other, so you sanded it to make it smooth, so eventually the thickness now on that specific area became thinner. When you placed your sheeting down, it looked all beautiful, but when you went to grab it, your finger goes right through. All right, seen it many times, been there, done that, almost 38 years ago, 40 years ago, been there, done that. All right, so I learned to do your sheetings properly to minimize the seam. Ensure that your sheeting, or when you do your sheeting selection, try to match all the thicknesses together. You know, don't put one that is way thicker than the other together, because then that's more sanding, and the chances of you sanding the thinner side faster, you know, will be greater. So just a little tip there. All right, so yeah, finding center on your leading edge in this particular case is your best friend. All right, so as you see right here, I got my tick mark, so I will basically be lining that up just like so. Trying to do this by looking at the camera screen. All right, and then you will get your equal distance, you know, and so forth. Now if you do not do it that way, and the other way to do this is basically here, me and my basicallys, right? But you can also get a piece of your sheeting, that the thickness that you're going to be utilizing, and you can plop it on there, get the top, right, and then do it to the bottom to ensure that you got enough area to have your sheeting butt up against on that leading edge. And then you can go down the length of your leading edge utilizing the your sheeting. That way you know for a fact that you got enough, that your sheeting is really butt up against that leading edge and they're pretty much even, right? It's flush, top and bottom. All right, that's if you didn't do the whole center line and all that other stuff. So rule of thumb, get your center lines done prior to adding it onto or gluing the whole structure together. It makes life a lot easier. Now secure this onto the front of the leading edge of the ribs, the front part, and get this glued in. I went ahead and I ran my T-bar sander the full length of the front of the ribs to get that slight taper that it has. That way the leading edge really contacts that front of the rib, so you get a nice glue joint. All right, cool. All right, so we got the front leading edge all glued up to each rib from W2 all the way to W12. So it's at the center line mark. I got equal distance top and bottom all the way down. It's not too critical when it comes down to the wingtip, because as long as it's centered on here, all this is gonna get sanded flush. All right, so with that said, that's all done. We've got to go ahead and duplicate that right here for the right side of the wing, but want to go ahead and just move on here and go to the next part. All right, so I got all the shear webs in the slots in between W4 rib all the way to W12. All right, now they're just plopped on there. All right, this is going to get glued on to the top and bottom of the main spar, and the shear webs is there to add strength to the wing. All right, it acts like an I-beam, right? You got your two top and bottom spar. That shear web connects those two spars together, causing it to or to create a I-beam effect, you know, in the construction world. And that right there prevents the spar from crushing down, or during load crushing down on the ribs, all right, causing the wing to basically crunch, all right, and fail during flight. So ensure that your shear webs, the grain is going vertically, top and bottom, connecting that, so that there'll be no chance of it flexing or crushing downwards. If you do it like this, where the grain is going horizontally with the length of the spar, that will still fold on itself. All right, so ensure that you're in the kit world. The shear webs are pretty much all cut out for you. All right, slight deviation here and there that you're gonna have to final trim. All right, like in this case, we're gonna have to trim all that top of the shear webs to the top of the main spar. All right, then we're gonna glue it on there. All right, so that's what we're gonna do here. Enough talking. Let's get to a building. time to join the wing. The two panels make it into one. Alright, so what we just finished doing here is the preparation of the flap area. Okay, all the way down. So the rear half of the bottom section of the wing, the rib that goes from here to here, was basically cut in half and removed. So now this is all flat. So this is where that split flap will go in there and open up. Alright. So yep. As you can see, we got everything up front. Alright, so what we're gonna do from here is start preparing the center brace. I'm going to start cutting into the W1 rib, right smack in the middle, in between the spar, and this is going to get fitted down in there, and then epoxy, 30-minute epoxied in. Alright, front and back, just like so, right down in there. And then also the wing bolt mounting plate, that's also going to get epoxied down in there. Yep. And then we'll go ahead and drill for the dowel, right smack in there. That's the reason why we kind of gave it that little mark. That way we know exactly the location where we need to put the drill bit. And it's a little off, but it's still within the center of that opening. It's just a 2 where I marked it. Just one a little higher on that one, but still the same. Once I put the drill bit right smack in the center there, it's going to go right through, end up into that channel. So we're still good. We got the flap hinge blocks already all in there. The wing. Alright. So all I have to do is on this wing true up the W12 rib. Just make it all flush all the way back here, leaving this there. Alright. So let's go in there and well, alright, so let's go ahead and alright, so let's go ahead and start joining this thing together. dry fit right now. So we got it. I just got it clamped all together just like so. So we're gonna go ahead and butter up these pieces. I say butter up. Yeah. Just gonna put a generous amount of 30-minute epoxy to ensure that we got a good bond. Alright. While at the same time not trying to make a mess here. Alright, so we got that going on here. Go ahead and put this first one on. Let me go ahead and put some on here. Let's go put that on here. Situate that real quick. Just do this side here. Smother this thing up. Doing it just like that. Go ahead and fit it on before everything dries up. Make sure everything gets aligned. We'll start clamping things together while aligning your ribs, the W1. Alright. Have a lot of mess here. Let's see. You need the working time. Just like so. Wing bolt plate nice and centered. Alright, here's a little close-up view. So we got the wing on the jig. That is the wing jig block right there smack in the center, right, to support the center part of the wing while it's in this configuration. For drying, we got W12 rib still planted directly onto the building table on both sides to prevent any warping of the wing. And eventually this is how we are going to start sheeting the front bottom wing, is with those tabs still touching the surface to ensure any warpage and stuff is not built into the wing. Alright, yep, other than that, it's pretty much the centerpiece. There's one little thing that happened was I cut the W1 rib right here, as you can see, just a tad bit short. Alright, so I'm going to fill some 30-minute epoxy and some micro balloons. I'm just going to go ahead and fill that up. Go ahead and add some of that micro balloon mixture right in that little gap. But other than that, that's pretty much the only gaps we got. It's just that. So far, not bad at all. Alright, so that is the wing currently in the drying process, and once that's all done, we will start sheeting the bottom section of the wing. Well, alright, so we're going to go ahead and mix up a little bit of micro balloons just to go ahead and fill some of that gaps. It's not much gaps, but still, I prefer to fill it up. So this is micro balloons, guys. My container broke, so I have to put it in a baggie. I'm just mixing up that micro balloon. Go ahead and do the back side here with this micro balloon mixture. Alright, let me just pull this T-pin out of here. I just like it to have a nice joint. The best joint would be no gaps, but unfortunately I just cut it wrong because when I was using the saw, I went off the line just a tad bit. But no biggie, like I said, this will work. And just like taking off all the excess as much as you can. Alright, that'll work. And while I do have this mixture, I'll also put it on the wing bolt plate and up here in the front. Plate. I'll just use whatever leftover I have here just to kind of get in here. As you can see, went ahead and used the micro balloons and epoxy mixture to also just put up against the edges here, fill up whatever gaps, if I had any gaps there, but at the same time it acts as a fillet to provide some good strength there as well. Alright, did the same thing with the front. As you can see, we got the microballoon epoxy mixture, just like so. Didn't really have to do that. I just decided I just wanted to do it. And there we go with that. The one that had the big gap, which is what I really mixed that up for, was just to fill that gap. And the other side. Alright, so we got that done. We're going to let that cure, and then we'll come back and get ready for sheeting the bottom of the wing. Alright guys. So we went ahead and dremelled a hole out right there on ribs W3 and W4, also on rib W8. Alright, so rib W8 right over here, originally where that plate for the bell crank is supposed to go into. This is no longer going to be where the bell crank is at. This is going to be where an actual servo bay is at. If people are still kind of guessing, I used this on the tip of my Dremel to get the hole drilled in there and then cleared out, and then I came back in with a smooth sanding drum, the small one, and just kind of finished it off, and then finished it off with some sandpaper. So yeah. Alright guys, so what we're going to be doing now is going through all the 1/16 by 3 inch by 30 inch balsa sheeting. Alright, so this is basically it, 1/16 inch by 3 inch wide by 30 inch. We're going to go through them and we're going to separate them based on, for one, grain, the looks, coloration, all that stuff, you know, and then match it up, because we're going to start preparing the sheeting for the wing. Alright, we're going to pick the first 8 sheets and we're going to set them aside, and that's going to be for the top wing. So we're really just going to have to separate everything here, kind of open them all up, lay them out, look for the best, the first 8. I mean, if you're really that picky, then, you know, take your time, do it right. This aircraft is going to get glassed, so I'm not really too concerned per se, but since it's going to be glassed and filled and, you know, all that stuff, it's not that critical as far as color match and all that. Alright, but the thickness per sheet, try to match them up as close as you can so it's less sanding at the seam. Just makes life much easier. Alright, so we got all that laid out. We still got some more here, but yeah, so just laying out all the sheets so that, as you can see, we got a little darker wood color on this one right here, so we'll kind of put that aside as well. If you were to if you just wanted to have that nice, you know, look after you skin or sheet the wing, right, I would put these in the bottom and then all the nice looking ones up top, you know, try to keep all these blemishes and stuff like that in the inside. Or since this one is on both sides, I would use this for the bottom side of the wing, and then use all the pretty ones like this on the top side of the wing. Alright, so we're preparing the sheeting for the bottom side of the wing, and I got my first two 1/16 by 3 by 30 edge glued or joined together. Alright, so I'm gonna go ahead and, just in case, show you how I did that. There's a lot of videos out there. I already had done this on my Top Flight Cessna 182. So we have a continuous flow. People don't have to keep jumping around in different videos and stuff. Let's go ahead and just show you how I drew up my sheeting prior to gluing everything together. Alright, let's do this. So as you can see, I had chosen these two pieces of 1/16 by 3 inch by 30. Alright, sheeting. As you can see, if I were to put it down flat on the table and kind of just lightly butt it up together, you're gonna see a whole bunch of gaps, unevenness and stuff all the way down the length of the sheeting. Right, like right here you see a big gap all the way to the end. It's kind of curving just a slight tad bit. All right, and so you can flip them around, try it that way as well. As you can see now, that side over here, it's a big gap. You can do whatever you want to do to see a perfect fit. So, but we're gonna go ahead and ensure that all this gets cut straight and that we have a good butt joint or seam for these two sheetings when we glue them together. So, with that said, what I normally do is we take our straight edge ruler and plop it on there, and we try to not cut a lot. All right, guys, try to minimize your cut as much, so we're not trying to take off a lot of material. If you're just going down the full length of it, doesn't look like I'm cutting out much, but you see right there. Okay, so right here you don't see much. Right smack in the center, it's a little thicker, going closer to the end, and then tapers off. All right, so right there is where majority of that sheeting that's causing that not to mate up properly. So we are going to just go ahead and hold that down with a sharp razor blade or X-Acto. We are just going to make sure when we're doing the cut, we're not angling our blade, we are just straight up and down. Alright, and I'm going to try to do this with the camera right on my arm. Alright, there you go. So this is how much material we cut off. That's it, real thin. Alright, now you can come around, get your T-bar sander or straight sander or whatever block sander you got, even if it's in a flat piece of wood and sandpaper attached to it, that's fine, you know. And then you're gonna go ahead and you can go ahead and just run your sandpaper the full length of that to kind of true up and clean up all your cuts. Right, ensure though that you don't angle the sandpaper or the sanding block and kind of make a bevel, because when you try to butt it up, you're not really gonna get that butt to butt end or a sealed seam. All right, now we're going to go ahead and just flip this one around, and we're going to do that to the other side as well. Alright, and so we're just going to, like I said, try to minimize as much material. We're not trying to cut a whole 1/4 inch off. Alright, just the areas that you think or that is protruding past the ruler. Now make sure that your straight edge is also straight. Alright, so it is not crooked as well, because then you'd be making a crooked cut. Alright, so once again, ensure you've got pressure down on your ruler so you're not moving it as well. Keep your blade nice and at a 90-degree angle or a 90-degree, so you're not making a taper. Alright, so we got this cut. We have both sides of this sheeting cut. Now we're going to go ahead and do this side. Alright, you gotta make sure I'm cutting it on my mat that doesn't have grooves. Alright, so we're going to follow this as well. That should be about right there. Just keep my blade at a 90-degree. Alright, holding everything down, and that's how much material we also cut off on this one. Alright, flip it over, and we're going to do the same thing. There you go. So now we have two of our sheets cut, and then from here we can just clean up the edges, keeping your sanding block as well at a 90-degree angle. Just lightly run your sanding block just like so. You're not trying to really cut into it, right? We're just trying to clean up the edge. If you have any burrs or anything, just kind of clean that up just like so. Alright, that's it. Do that to the other side too, as a guide, so you can push your material, or if you already have a cutting mat, you can use the edge of your table and keep it like that. That way you know that is completely 90 degrees, provided that the table or your edge is at a 90 degree. Alright, so now we can go over here and we can actually trial fit it again. Alright, I'm going to butt it up again. As you can see, already got a nice seam right there. Right, you can barely see it. I'm pushing it down, as you can see, all the way to the end. There's no gaps whatsoever, right? No gaps. Just pushing it down, just like that. You can put wax paper on top of this cutting mat. Whatever surface you're using that is flat is best. So what I got, let's go flip you around. I got a piece of glass right here, and with that glass I also have some cling wrap just placed over on top, ensuring that there's no wrinkles right smack in the middle where it's going to cause the sheeting to kind of lift up. Alright, you want it as flat as possible. Now I'm going to go ahead and put the two sheeting pieces. I'm going to butt it up just like so. Alright, want to kind of get the right shade. It's just personal preference. So it doesn't matter if I accidentally flipped it around, you know, because both sides of each sheeting is completely true, straight, so it doesn't matter if you accidentally flip it around from each other. It should have no seam whatsoever. Alright, so that way there's no seam. I go this way and I push all the sheeting down. There's no seam. Alright, so that's how you true up your sheeting so that you can ensure a nice joint. Alright, now that's not a gap, that's because the sheeting is thin and it's kind of warping. Alright, there's nothing much you can do about that. The main thing is when you're popping it onto the wing, that we use something that is straight so we can put pressure down. And if you watched my part 1 of this build, you see how I put the sheeting on the vertical and horizontal stabilizer, or vertical fin and horizontal stabilizer. I utilize my T-bars to apply direct pressure to ensure we're not building in any warps within the sheeting, right? Because as you can see, as the sheeting relaxes, like right now, they're either bowed, they're warped, or whatnot. All right, so that will all go away once we apply glue to the ribs, to the leading edge, spar, all that stuff. And then when we plop this down in there, we don't use our hands, we utilize something flat so that we do not conform the sheeting to those empty bay areas, you know, because we're putting too much pressure. The glue catches and then it locks all the sheeting into that wave. All right, we'll see. I'll show it to you when we start getting into the actual sheeting part. But from now, what you can do from here is either use thin CA, you can use tight bond wood glue to go ahead and join your sheeting together. Tight bond, the downfall with tight bond is that it doesn't dry instantly, so you have to utilize something to kind of hold your sheeting together while the adhesive dries. Now thin CA, this one in particular doesn't kick in as fast as, like, let's say Bob Smith's thin CA or Zap's thin CA. This one takes a little longer for it to kind of hold on to the part. So what you can do to make sure that all that is being held together is get yourself some pieces of tape in here. As you can see, I am going to grab a hold of the sheeting. I'm going to kind of butt it up tightly with each other. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and stick the tape to one side of the sheeting, kind of pull it towards the other. Alright, just like so. Now if you let it go, eventually it's going to want to do that. So you can add a piece of weight maybe. That's up to you. But I'm going to work on this really quick, so it's not going to be an issue. Alright, so we do that. And I'm just utilizing these, the tape just to kind of hold it all, kind of put pressure, ensure we got a tight joint. Plus the center, right now, if I run my fingers between the two sheeting, right now it is smooth, as if there was no joint right there in the middle. So when you add thin CA, always have yourself a napkin or a towel or gloves or something, so that you can go ahead and wipe off the excess. All right, like I said, this one in particular does not hold right away compared to like the other CA, so this one I need something to actually hold everything together, which is the tape. All right, so now we're gonna have to look for the seam, because this one is so good that I can't even see where that seam is at. All right, so I see it right here. I'm gonna go ahead. Wow, it is pretty hard to see. I'm going to take you even closer so that you can see that you can barely see the seam. All right, so it's hard to see the seam now at this point. Really hard. All right, so what I'm going to do is kind of remove this out of the way so I can get a little idea where that seam is at. Right here in the front, I'm going to follow this. I'm going to add thin CA right there. And then I'm going to wipe that off real quick. All right, and that's so that you don't have that buildup of CA. So your seam will be nice and clean when everything's all said and done. Now, where's that gap? There you go. So right here, I'm hoping this is it, because I'm already putting this CA. All right, then I'm just gonna go ahead and wipe all that excess off. As you can see, there's no buildup of CA there. I'm gonna go ahead and put my weight back down. All right, and then I'm gonna skip the tape. We can come back to that tape later. All right, should you use the tape. If not, just go straight down. All right, go ahead and look for that seam again. That's the downfall of this. There you go. I can see found the seam, and I think wow, I was off on that seam. Holy Lord. Okay guys, I guess I did such a good job that I can't even see the seam, and I've even put CA right there and the seam is over here. We're gonna get it right this time, guys. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and put that in there just like so. Allow that thin CA to kind of soak in between the crack and that seam. Alright, go put my weight back there, and then we go ahead and make sure that everything is pushed down. So right now I can't feel no lip. Alright, so the good thing about that, when you don't feel a lip right now, that means you don't have to really sand this thing so much to try to eliminate the lip or to blend both sheets together. This one just needs minimal sanding. Now if you had this a high lip here between the seams, eventually one of these sheetings is going to get sanded down too thin. Grab your wing to pick it up. You punch holes into your sheeting with your fingers because it's just too thin. All right, guys. So spend your time on your sheeting when you're preparing. You're selecting your sheeting. Try to match them as close as possible. You know, the two that you're joining together. Ensure that you got a flat surface, that the center, the two that meet at the middle, they're both pushed down to the surface so that you have a smooth transition from the bottom and also the top. So if I flip this over, I should have that same feeling. All right, it should be nothing higher than the other. So I just wanted to kind of put that here to just continue the continuity with this video, so that people don't have to keep jumping back and forth to different videos and stuff like that. All right, and then from here, like I said, it's really smooth, just as smooth as no seam right here. All right, as you can see, try to get you closer. All right, there's no ridge or edge right there. All right, so here is that sheeting we just finished doing. I went ahead and I just ran real quick 220 grit sandpaper, just really fast, just maybe like 2 times, 1, 2, and we're done. Wiped it down, get it dust free, and there you go. That will be the sheeting that goes on top of my wing or bottom of the wing. All right. So when you prepare your sheeting in this manner, you will have a nice looking, you know, seamless joint. All right. Just like so. It takes practice, guys. So go out there, give it a try. You know, yeah, trust me, it won't fail you. Right? You can, like I said, you can utilize Tite Bond if you're not a CA guy. All right, not everybody is a CA guy, and not everybody's a Tite Bond guy. All right, or gal. So if you're gonna use Tite Bond, I suggest to use the tape method. Kind of put a bead of Tite Bond on your seam, kind of, you know, get it all butt together, and then tape it down, hold it down, type deal, whatever you need to do, just to ensure that both sheetings are kind of pulled tight up to each other. All right. Now, if you're doing multiple, more than 2 pieces of, sheeting, then same principle applies. All right. Bottom sheeting here, all measured and cut. All right. I've got a little bit of an overhang, maybe about, I'll say about 1/8 of an inch, maybe a little bit more, maybe 3/8. All right. But about here on the trailing edge of the flap, I got it pretty much almost flush. All right. Still enough to go ahead and put the sanding block on there and really fine tune that to be really smooth against the trailing edge here of the flap. So with that said, I got everything all cut out just like so. All right, I went ahead and taped at the seam, the joint area. I pulled it tight against the leading edge sheeting here, so I put the tape over here and pulled this sheeting towards this. All right, and then now we can go ahead and just flip it up like so. Now I can go ahead and apply my bead of medium CA on all the areas here, and then going ahead and plop it back down, utilizing my T-bar sanders as the tool to go ahead and lay and push the sheeting down firmly and straight onto the ribs. All right, let's do this. All right, guys, so we're going to do this in real time. Go ahead and clean out my CA. I was actually going to use Tite Bond on this one, wood glue. Yeah, I'll just use the medium CA. Work pretty quick. All right, so here we go. All right. put CA on the rails just yet, because we're going to end up cutting that out for the hatch for the servo, so I'm not worried about that just yet. Alright, here we go. Plop it all down. I forgot to put weight on this side. There you go. I got this side already all down from the this one right here. As long as your jig is still touching the table, so we don't give up any warps. And that's pretty much it. Everything's all pressed down, I can see it. Alright. Well, that's pretty much it. I'm just gonna wait for that to dry, and then once this is dry, then we can start moving on. I'm gonna go ahead and also take care of this part right here. I already had this one cut, and this is just we're gonna go down and do it like this. Alright. Which way did I have that? Yeah. Just gonna go like that. There you go. And then we're just gonna trim this up straight down, and then trim that out with the root, and then that will finish off this piece right here, because this is the split flap. Remember, this is the bottom side of the wing, so yep, that's what we're doing. Alright guys, and then we'll take care of the left hand side, and then the whole bottom of the wing will be completely sheeted. So yeah, I'm not installing the retracts at the moment. I'm not even doing the retract rails, only because I don't have the retracts on hand. Still trying to figure out where I'm going to get the retracts from. Robart, they're pretty much backlog. I'm looking at Sierra's giant scale retracts, pneumatic type deal. I'm actually looking for good 95-degree rotating retracts for this aircraft, electric. All right, I'm not looking for pneumatic, but should the retracts, doesn't pan out because they're not available at the time, at the moment, I will go with pneumatics. So trying to stay away from pneumatic retracts, or air, however you want to call it. But other than that, I do not want to install the blocks at the moment, because if it's even slightly off and we slap on that retract and we screw it down and it cocksides it, or adds a little twist to the base of the retract, it's gonna cause the retract to start binding up and everything. All right, so I want to have the retracts available, attach the rails to the retracts, and then put it down in here. All right, and then epoxy it and all, and then remove it, and then start reinforcing it with either carbon fiber, fiberglass, resin, type of stuff. So alright, so I went ahead and flipped the wing over, alright, to the top side, and what I'm going to do here is I'm going to push my T-pin through each corner of the bay for the flap and also for the aileron. This way we know exactly where the four corners are at. Alright, so I'm just going to push this T-pin right down in the corner, all the way out to the other side. On each four corner. And the reason also that I did not add any CA on the rails is just so that when we do trace out for the hatch, alright, we don't have to worry about cleaning all that CA off. And then we can go over and do a drop of thin CA in there once it's all cut out. And we're also going to do this also on the retract cutout. That way we know exactly where our corners are at. Alright, so we got the four corners on that, and then we're going to transition over here to the retract, the opening. So the retract opening will be right here on the bottom of the sheeting right here. There's already your cutout lines. You got this area right here. Those are the general location of the two ribs. So we're just gonna poke the T-pin right out at these areas here. I'm gonna poke it out right here, right here, right here, and right here. Now, once we get the retract in, we know we're going to be utilizing a 4-inch wheel. So once we at least get this rough cutout, we can go ahead and pop that wheel on with the retract, trace that out, give a little bit of margin for the wheel to nicely fall right into that wheel well, and then we'll cut out that completely with the Dremel drum, get it all nice and neat, and then we will, not too sure yet, alright, I'm thinking on vacuum forming the wheel well itself with some Lexan, real thick Lexan, and then we'll go just pop it down in there and glue it in. Alright, or there's a lot of different things you can utilize for your wheel well. Alright, you can use a 1 liter bottle depending on how thick your tires are, or you can just use 3/32 balsa and just run it in, and then you can go ahead and finish it up. Alright. Other than that, based on this model, you can leave it open. Alright, you don't even have to put in a wheel on there, you just cut it open and just leave it. Alright, now that's based on the instruction. Now as far as aesthetics, it doesn't look that pleasing when you can see everything in the inside, so it's best to just seal it up. That way it just looks nicer, and if you're running nitro, prevents all that nitro fuel from going in there. Alright, if you're using gas, prevents all that oil, alright, from going in there. So other than that, that's what we did. Went ahead and pre-marked all those areas. Oh, other thing we've got to mark is the location of the wing bolting mount for the bolt right here. Alright, so this one I'm just gonna push down right smack in the center. I think I'm off a little bit. Alright. So got all those marked out. Now when you flip it over, alright guys, we have the general location of all those areas. So now you got the marks right here. Alright, you got a mark right here, right there, and right there. Alright, now these are your four corners of the aileron and flap. Alright, and then right here I just used a T-pin and followed the hole in there, so we know that this is the opening right about here for the wing bolt. Alright, so we can go ahead and cut that out accordingly and widen it up as much as you need for your bolts. Alright, oh, and this one right here is the wheel well opening for your retracts. Alright, so we know that this area right here, this is the far ends of the wheel well cutout on the ribs. Alright, so we know for a fact that this is the general location, and like I said, once you get your wheel in there, you can, let's say this is the 4-inch wheel, you pop it down on there. Alright, just get yourself your circumference and then just do a rough cut and then slowly cut it out. Alright, but there you go. Alright, so there you go. Went ahead and just placed the flap hatch cover, alright, over the 4 points, given equal distance past your 4 corners, because that will expose the rail where you'll be screwing down the hatch onto those rails. We're going to be putting some screws right down in there. Alright, so that's for the flap and that's for the aileron. Same thing. Alright, so I'm going to be making me another hatch for the aileron side. So you're going to have one like that, and then you're going to have one like this. That's that. Sorry for it being so long-winded, but we are going to go and finish up the right hand side wing. Alright guys. Alright guys, so we got the bottom section of the wing fully sheeted as much as we can. At least it looks like a wing. Alright, from here we could go ahead and we can build the split flaps. We could also construct the ailerons, but we're just gonna go ahead and leave that until we get everything all situated with the retracts and top sheeting, and then we'll move into doing all of those control surfaces. But in the meantime, we're going to go ahead and jump right into part 3 of the Top Flite P-40E Warhawk, and we're going to go ahead and start part 3 with the fuselage build. Alright, so if you guys got comments, go ahead and flood the comment section. Leave your comments there. I read all my comments daily, and I will respond to you in a timely fashion as much as I can. If I know the answer, if I don't know the answer, it don't make a difference. The whole point is, you know, engaging with you guys, you know, in regards to the hobby, in regards to the build. If you guys are building the same aircraft and you're further along, awesome stuff. I would love to see your builds as well. Alright, so with that said, we're going to leave you with that, and don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, share the videos, and if you are subscribed to the channel, I surely appreciate you. So I will see you on part 3 of the top flight P-40E Warhawk build. You guys have a good one. Be safe. Shear.